The dates were only set yesterday, but now the Chief Health Officer says there's a chance Melbourne could get out of lockdown earlier if case numbers drop more rapidly than expected. There were 41 new cases today. Another 9 Victorians have died, 8 in aged care. There are now almost 1,800 active cases in the state. Less than 100 of those are outside of metropolitan Melbourne. The state's contact tracing efforts have again come under fire, but Brett Sutton says even the best tracking teams are no substitute for a lockdown. Here's state political reporter Richard Willingham.
A longer lockdown is no walk in the park, and today the reality of Victorians' long path out of restrictions was sinking in.
It's hard being at home, but it has to be done.
It could be a struggle for some, but I don't think there's much we can do about it.
The virus has spread so far because of the total body incompetence of Daniel Andrews.
The Prime Minister was somewhat more diplomatic, but he's not a fan of the Premier's plan.
This plan has very severe impacts, and we also have to manage the ability to take people with these plans, and we cannot create a burden that is too great to bear.
If we could have announced a different roadmap yesterday, one that was faster, then of course we would have. I wish I could have done that yesterday.
Some medical experts say if the state's beleaguered contact tracing system was better, lockdown could end sooner because higher caseloads could be managed.
I think some of us feel that if there were more confidence in the public health response capability, you could take some slightly more generous triggers.
As always, so much hinges on the daily number. Today, there were just 41 new cases in Victoria, the lowest daily tally since June. It takes the 2-week average in Melbourne to 84.8. That average needs to be between 30 and 50 for Melbourne to take the second step out of lockdown at the end of the month. To take the third step, the Premier has set a target of an average of just 5 cases a day for 2 weeks. New South Wales is currently managing 10 cases a day with fewer restrictions.
Daniel Andrews is setting a bar which I don't think any Victorian seriously thinks we're going to get to.
But better numbers like today's might mean a shorter timeline out of lockdown.
There's potential for that. I think we should always be in a process of continuous review.
It's a tiny glimmer of hope for Melburnians wallowing in the reality of the extended lockdown. Many have questions about how much consideration was given to mental health and the economy. But there's also a quiet acknowledgement from others that while this is tough, Melbourne simply can't risk a third wave. Richard Willingham, ABC News, Melbourne.
The extension of stage 4 restrictions has left Victorian business owners reeling. Many are at breaking point and say they can't see how they'll make it through the longer lockdown. Retailers and gyms say they should be allowed to get back to work because there haven't been big outbreaks in their sectors. Here's state political reporter Bridget Rollerson.
Since stage 4 restrictions came into effect, all of Hendrik van Leeuwen's work has been cut off.
My business has 17 people full-time. Now with spring here, gardens are popping and ready to go, and we're desperate to get back out there.
He says many landscapers are still confused about when they can pick up the tools again.
I mean, even today we called the Business Victoria hotline and they didn't know.
Gardeners who work alone will be some of the 100,000 Victorians heading back to work at the end of the month. On September 28th, large-scale construction will move from 25 to 85% capacity. Manufacturing businesses can operate with 90% of their normal workforce, and wholesale businesses will be allowed to open with 2/3 of regular staff. But restrictions on abattoirs won't change. Gyms like this one will be one of the last businesses to reopen.
It would be more ideal if we could be open sooner so that people could start being able to, use exercise as a coping mechanism.
The extended lockdown is expected to send the state's unemployment rate soaring past 10%. Economists predict it will take at least 3 years for the economy to recover.
The small businesses are already just about to fail. Will probably be pushed over the edge.
Langwarrin clothes shop owner Rebecca Courtling was devastated to hear her doors will stay closed for at least another 7 weeks. She's hoping for a Christmas miracle.
I think even if we could operate even within 5 kilometres of people coming to us, that would be a huge bonus.
Most retail stores will stay shut until at least the end of October. And that's because authorities say even though it's hard to pinpoint infections stemming from shops compared to, say, abattoirs, the risk of transmission is still there because large numbers of people are gathering indoors. The Premier says it's also about sending a message to people to stay home.
It's not so much about the shop being open, it's about letting all the customers out of their homes, hundreds of thousands of people, to go and shop there.
The government's promised more support for traders but hasn't revealed when it will arrive. In the meantime, business owners keep rolling with the punches. Bridget Rollison, ABC News, Melbourne.
Many people living in country Victoria are miffed about the one-size-fits-all plan to ease restrictions. Some regional council areas are yet to record a single COVID case, but they're being asked to follow the same road to recovery as everyone else. Beth Gibson reports.
For 140 years, Mildura's paddle steamers have been a constant on the Murray River until now.
We've operated throughout the World Wars and the Spanish flu and the influenza outbreak, but now due to the COVID-19 we've had to stop our operations.
Like many of Victoria's regional council areas, Mildura has no active cases of COVID-19, yet it remains under tight restrictions and is facing the same gradual easing as the rest of the state.
We can still operate once they start bringing the restrictions back down and not placing us in the same situation as the Melbourne and the greater metropolitan areas.
Daniel Andrews calls this a road map. It's a mud map and we're all stuck in the mud.
Victoria's farmers have enjoyed one of their wettest winters in years, but border closures, travel restrictions and the continued lockdown of abattoirs have cast a gloom over the industry.
If we're not able to fulfil our export contracts, we will lose those contracts into the future. That will cripple regional Victoria for years to come.
And it's still unclear when farmers will be able to head to the local pub to talk about it. Here in the Mitchell Shire, just north of Melbourne, pubs have been on tough restrictions since Melbourne went back into lockdown in early July. They'll follow the regional road to recovery, but it promises to be a tough path for many businesses.
We've got 22 staff and they're on JobKeeper. We don't know when we're going to open. We don't know how we can trade when we do open.
The state government says it's committed to a single plan for all of regional Victoria.
Even if you haven't had a case for months, the movement of people for essential reasons brings a risk of seeding into any one of those places.
And he says different settings would heighten that risk. Beth Gibson, ABC News.